Building Convincing Arguments Video 2, The Evidence. Copyright Maggie Coughlin, 2025. The second part of a solid argument is the evidence. Evidence is information that supports your claim. You can use evidence from a reputable external source or from personal experience or expertise. External evidence might come from a book, article, newspaper, personal interview, blog, video, report, or other medium. It might be in the form of statistics, research findings, quotes, etc. Speaker experience evidence is usually in the form of a story from the speaker's own life. If the speaker is an acknowledged expert in their field, they may be qualified to provide evidence based on their own observations, experience, or research. Each type of information can be useful and convincing depending on your audience. In a strong argument, the evidence must be credible, be timely, and must directly support the claim. Many arguments fall apart at this stage because one of these musts isn't present. Determining whether evidence is credible is a complex process and a whole other video. So let's focus on the other 2 points. Timely usually means recent because up-to-date information is usually more credible and accurate than old data. For example, unless you are providing a comparison, the average number of animals in the local shelter over the last year is more convincing than the average from 10 years ago. Speakers often use old, outdated information, either because their research is sloppy or because the newer data contradicts their points. This is why you shouldn't grab the first article that comes up in a search, and why you should be suspicious if all of a speaker's evidence seems to be decades old. The final requirement is that evidence needs to directly support your claim. Let's look at the claim of fact example from earlier. Remember, the claim is that overcrowding is a problem for local shelters. Evidence supporting this claim could include statistics from the city about how many animals are currently housed in the shelter versus the maximum it was built to hold, research by an animal rights group about how overcrowded conditions affect the animals, or quotes from shelter workers about how hard it is to keep the animals clean and healthy when they're overcrowded. Each of these items directly support the claim that overcrowding is a problem. All three together are very convincing because they illustrate different aspects of the problem, represent different types of evidence, and come from different sources. Evidence that does not directly support the claim is a problem, even if it's sort of related or just sounds good. For example, let's say that in your research, you come across a compelling article about high euthanasia rates in another state. The statistics are shocking, and the article includes many powerful quotes, so you want to use it. Can you use that article as evidence that overcrowding is a problem for local shelters? Take a moment to think about it. If you said probably not, you're right. Your claim is about local shelters, and the article is about a whole other state. From the information we have, we also don't know why the euthanasia rates are so high in that other state. We can't assume based on what we know now that overcrowding is the reason. It might be, but we don't know until we read the whole article. This is another reason not to just grab the first couple articles that pop up in a search, or to take info from an article's abstract instead of digging deeper. If you did read the whole article and found the reason is overcrowding, you might want to change your claim or add another one. This article could be great evidence for a claim that if your local shelter does not increase adoptions, it will become overcrowded and euthanasia rates will increase. This is why you need to be clear about what claim you're making and what kind of claim it is. Knowing that will help you select strong evidence that directly supports your claim. A better option is actually to do the research first, find your evidence, and then determine what you want to claim based on the evidence. The claim still comes first when you present your argument, but the strongest arguments start with well-researched evidence. All this stuff about evidence might feel nitpicky, but it's super important to think critically about whether your evidence directly supports your claim and about whether a person trying to convince you uses evidence that really supports their claims. People who get sloppy in this area may be trying to mislead you, and you could accidentally mislead your audience if you get sloppy. In evaluating a speaker's evidence, or your own, for validity, timeliness, and direct support, you might also discover that the speaker doesn't have any evidence at all, and that should definitely prompt you to look more closely. In the next video, we'll talk about the third and most often overlooked part of building a solid argument, the warrant. Note, use of this video or any of its contents for the purposes of training generative AI technologies is expressly prohibited. The author reserves all rights to license this work for machine learning.